Few weeks ago we saw that the National Portrait Gallery finally gonna open to public. There was a scaffolding that side of the building for such a long time. It was good to see that it's finally opened. Previously we were there a couple of years ago, and I remember it was like a cocktail, certain mix of modern stuff and very, very old stuff. Like many places, there are rooms that are free to visit, and there are rooms that you need to pay a certain fee to get in. There are two exhibitions today. One is with Paul McCartney, and the other one is another person I don't know. But later on, it turns out that what he or she was doing is very interesting. Pictures from 1938 was, I think, they were taken black and white pictures and painted it by hand. Actually met a photographer like that after finishing high school, secondary school, and she asked me if I can do this sort of editing because she was taking pictures and she really liked, that was her style, to retouch the pictures very heavily. So I almost ended up with a job, but unfortunately it was not meant to be. What meant to be, what followed actually was years and years of traveling on £5 to £500 tickets because it was very cheap back then, to fly anywhere on this planet. So I was traveling, sometimes alone, sometimes with friends, or I was working to get enough money, enough budget to get to a place where I wanted to go. So the last thing was in my mind to go to cinema or follow the news. So many times I don't go to certain exhibitions regarding figures from pop culture because simply I don't know them at all. I can recognize Ed Sheridan, Vivienne Westwood, and that's about it. So I really prefer modern art, like you can find in the Tate Modern, that makes no references to anything else at all, where without any knowledge you can just admire how the artist played with the colors, with the lightening, with the shapes and forms, the space. The very modern art, or a very old ones, like from 500 years ago or even 1,000 years ago. So they refurbished the place, but the Tudor Gallery, Henry VIII, the Tudor Gallery stayed the same, which was so good to see the portraits, as I remembered from a long time ago. The place was absolutely packed with tourists and it was very hard to take pictures, but I took my time to read the text because, my day off, and I really wanted to spend time with every single masterpiece I liked. In here you have many floors. You don't even realize until you get a map. So it's not like 4 levels. There are 3 levels downstairs, underground as well. So you have -1, -2, -3. And the top floor is level 4. There's a restaurant there. And then the exhibition starts on level 3. This is where we started as well. The very first painting, if you get out of the lift and you turn right, the very first painting gonna be a family portrait. There's a description by the side, few lines, but very important. On the family paintings, the props and the backgrounds hold very special meaning that only the family knows. Obviously, these family paintings were not meant to be in the museum. It's supposed to be staying with the family forever. And I realized that in my family as well, we don't have any paintings about us at all. We rarely have any pictures because we are not that sort of family at all. But when it comes to language, we have certainly quite a lot of phrases that is very specific to our family and no one would understand outside. European history and English history in particular is very difficult, very difficult. Lots of wars, lots of names you need to remember. If you come to London just for a weekend, the best place in London is actually not in London. You need to take the train but it's not really, far away. It's maybe 20 minutes by train or something like that. You need to go to Hampton Court Palace. It belonged to Henry VIII. Hampton Court Palace, really, I don't know how, but they managed to preserve the atmosphere of that place. My favorite part was the kitchen. I don't know why, maybe because I spent so much time in catering, but it was a very special kitchen. They needed to feed thousands of people every single day. And you need to remember, they made everything from scratch. So they made the bread from scratch. They made everything from scratch. So it wasn't like nowadays that you order things in a box, reheat it. And of course, there's a separate room for everything, which nowadays it's very interesting to see. Because, for example, today I woke up and I had my coffee in my bed, and next to the bed there is a table, so I put the coffee cup on the table, and then I kind of forgot about it. I was talking to someone. I made, very theatrical gestures with my hand, waving with my hand, and obviously I knocked it over. So yeah, the space is a bit limited, but in the National Portrait Gallery as well. And we were looking at the paintings, and one of the painting resembled one of my friends, so we were having a little laugh. Because usually you see her only in blue jeans and the shirt, and obviously here on the portraits there are very exquisite, beautiful gowns, and with her face, because they look so similar. It was so funny to see. When you walk in the National Portrait Gallery, you really need to look up, because they have this sunroof, and you need to look at the building as well, because sometimes the building is much better than the actual exhibition they put in. I strongly suggest to find on YouTube. There are plenty of videos to choose from, to watch a video how they keep these paintings alive. It takes lots of money and energy and time to keep the paintings fresh looking, and some of them they really look like 3D, like the lady, especially when it comes to skirts. They really, you look at the skirts and they, any minute they can just step out of the painting. It's really remarkable. And I'm telling you this because I am from Eastern Europe. Right now I'm in London, but I am from Eastern Europe, and there, if you go to some exhibitions, you can see paintings that not even 100 years old, maybe 50 years old. It's already so dark you hardly see anything at all. And the good thing here in the National Portrait Gallery, that you can see that all these paintings are in good hands. They really taking care of them. I know. Sometimes I move the camera in a very strange way, waving it and turning, vertically and all that stuff. The reason is, it's not an artistical choice on my part. The reason is that every single room was really packed with tourists, with visitors, and whenever I wanted to step back just a few meters, I needed to maneuver myself, because the room was completely full. Some blocks, they don't like to post negative comments. Nothing bad at all, only good reviews. But here I need to mention that you're not going to find too many bad paintings in here that would change your mood, make you sad or anything like that, make you think that it's a waste of time that you come here. No, 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 no. But there are some that some painters really struggle to put more than one person in the same painting, and sometimes I like to spend time with this kind of paintings that I find lacking of something. And you know, sometimes because you can learn so much from these paintings. It's very important to mention that the National Portrait Gallery is situated right in the middle of the capital city, right in the middle of London, and there's no ticket, so it's all free to see, so you cannot complain at all. This is the National Portrait Gallery, and we have lots of very, very famous portraits here. Shakespeare, for example. Shakespeare, you know, it's on the same level as the Mona Lisa you find in the Louvre, Paris. We saw it last year, last summer. I know what you did last summer. You were in the Louvre in Paris to see the Mona Lisa. All my friends were there. It was amazing. And now we're seeing Shakespeare and another guy next to Shakespeare, and the name is Bunyan. I hope I pronounced it well. And this name really caught my eye because not long ago I visited William Blake's grave. Strangely, it's next to Old Street Station, next to underground station, metro station, literally a few steps away, and there was a name next to William Blake, and that was this guy, this gentleman, John Bunyan, who wrote the novel Pilgrim's Progress. And then I realized, I put the two and two together, and so that was the guy I visited, whose resting place is next to William Blake's. As I'm walking along the portraits, one lovely gentleman came to me and asked me what kind of camera I'm using. And I didn't understand it first, but then I just simply show it to him because it's a very old camera. You cannot buy it anymore. Actually, I'm using it for 7 years. Already many new versions came out, and probably I need to change it. Why can't I get used to it already? I didn't ask, but he showed me his camera, and it was Lumix. And I said, oh, very nice stuff. You know, it's an interesting idea to make friends in museums and exhibitions, but there were so many people. We drifted apart very, very quickly. Apparently, there are some free guides you can go and can have some questions as well. I have actually a couple of them, 5 questions in total, and one of them would have been that how much time it takes to model for a portrait, like one of those that are in a National Portrait Gallery, the old ones, you know, that are at least 500 years old. National Portrait Gallery, it's quite a huge building, and at some point I was so ready for a coffee and a cake, and I told the others that let's go downstairs or upstairs and have some flat white and chocolate cake or pistachio cake. But they said no, let's get to the end of it. And I was like, well, I was not really happy about this, but I was voted down. And the next room we went to was all about the sea. So we saw Captain Cook and all that stuff. And I absolutely love anything with the sea. The paintings of Turner and anything to do with the sea, I love it. And straight away I woke up and no longer needed coffee. So that was good. So these paintings, even after so many years, after so many centuries, still affecting the viewer. Someone in my group mentioned that some of the models on the paintings are not really beautiful, and I said beautiful people don't really like to make hard decisions, And all the people you see here are they were at some point in their life in very important positions. So, you know, they need to make hard decisions every single day and bear the responsibility and the consequences and everything that comes with it. And this guy, Lord Byron, before the pandemic, my last trip was to go to Barcelona and to Greece. And we went to Athens to see the Acropolis and took the bus for like 10 euros or something like that. And we went to the temple of Poseidon. And and you know, this man, this Lord Byron, pops up in places you would at least expect. And so basically, Temple of Poseidon in Greece have a graffiti from Lord Byron. he just, you know, put his signature over there, and it's still there. And many people, they go to see Lord Byron's graffiti rather than the actual temple of Poseidon and the sunset, which is amazing. So there's a guy here, William Herschel, and I always say this, that from my gang, I should be the last person who do this videos, because everyone else is so much more intelligent, and most of the portraits, even before reading who are they recognize them, almost all of them. I did not, and even when they said that who is this person, I I said I never heard of him. Everyone else did. So this guy is Herschel, and he was German born, and what you need to know about him, that he built a telescope, not one, 400 or even more. We know about 400, and he discovered a planet Uranus. He discovered a planet, and I never heard of him. His name is William Herschel. So if there's one takeaway from this episode, that must be this guy who discovered a planet without any education. He just liked to play and build telescopes, and he discovered a planet. So he's pretty special. So the name is William Herschel. Oh yeah. If I need to choose one painting that I really like, well, one of my favorite definitely is a woman dressed in black, long skirt, and she has her hair covered. In my country, because I'm from Eastern Europe, back in the day, if a lady's hair was covered, it means that she was married. But here, she is holding a dagger, a sort of knife, and in the other hand, a mask. And the whole picture is very gothic and not really real. There is not a real emotion. She's just like staring, like a little bit playfully. And when you read the description, you can see that she's an actor. She's a singer. She's an opera singer. And this is why the painters, the artists, a couple of 100 years ago, were so brilliant, because you look at the painting, and within seconds, within a fraction of the second, you know what you are looking at. You don't have to decode it, because it is so very well expressed that you know, you look at the little details, like the dagger, which doesn't really look like a lethal weapon, and there's a mask, and the whole thing. You know that it's a performance. And this is just perfect. How can you know, you have only like a brush and a paint, and you can create something like this that speaks volume, speaks a whole story. This is so great. And next to it, the exact opposite of the coin, an absolute realness, a boxer, a young guy, I hope I pronounced the name right, Bilchner, and it's a portrait of a young guy with a scarf around the neck. It's sort of a signature piece. He was always wearing this, and the people started to, because he was like a local hero, they were talking about it. He was famous, and they started to call this scarf Bilchner after the guy, and he was a boxer, so he was doing something that is not theater at all. He could have died in any match, and he was famous for making jokes even in the middle of the most dangerous fights. And this is how you sell entertainment as well in the last 100 years. James Bond with his one-liners, and Marvel movies, especially Spider-Man, fighting and stopping for a few seconds to make jokes as well, to lighten up the mood. But the two portray next to each other. One is just pure performance, playing a very gothic horror opera, and next to it something that is very real when they fight in the boxing ring, and then he's making jokes. It just very well put, these two paintings next to each other for everyone to see, so they can be forever on the stage.